talking about you said that there were 3 things that you got out of.
Right, and that's the first one.
Of basically doing these interviews. One was that she was basically saying these horrible things about Chris Siegel flashing the police officer, right? That was one, right?
That's one.
Okay, and you didn't witness that, did you?
No.
Okay. And then the accusation of affairs was another one that you listed. And you didn't ever witness her accusing anyone of having affairs, did you?
She never did that with me, no.
Okay. And you never basically witnessed her say anything about the police chief having an affair on his wife, did you?
I did not witness it.
I mean, there's nothing. All of these things that people told you about Ms. Lindell, you and the other 2 council members, weren't things that you witnessed firsthand, were they?
Correct.
You never asked Ms. Lindell about any of these 3 things, did you?
In the room there, I don't recall personally. I did not, and I'm not quite sure if the other people did or not. I don't think they did.
At what point do you think Chris Siegel began to be extremely upset at Ms. Lindell?
I think you have to ask Chris Siegel that.
I mean, your observation, was there a certain time period where she began to become very angry at Ms. Lindell?
I think towards late December, that's probably when she became extremely angry with her. And Bob.
Do you remember her referring to Ms. Lindell as the evilness?
She may have.
Chris Siegel writes, Rich, I don't want us to change who we are, begin parentheses, limited friendships at work, end parentheses, period. I especially don't want to change in response to the ridiculous allegations against us. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
Do you have any idea what she's referring to with respect to ridiculous allegations against us?
I think the information or the response that Londi and Bob had provided.
And then she writes, that evilness got us to this place, will be gone shortly for good. You see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Every department head, just about every department head in the city would seem to have been impacted by the actions of a couple people.
And the couple people are who?
In my opinion,
Yes.
Lonnie Lindell, Bob Sturbank.
You've got Rich Conrad writing, he says, let me read you the last 2 sentences, quote, I'm winding through an ever-tightening maze to do the best thing for the city and its employees. Unfortunately, I am increasingly convinced some of my top advisors are not motivated by the same thing. It is getting very difficult. Did you see that?
I see that.
Were you aware of, were you convinced that top advisors were motivated by something bad or not putting the best interest of the city in heart at that point?
I observed nothing that would have made me think that. Did
you think you were doing anything, out to get Chris Siegel or that wasn't in the best interest of the city?
No.
And it's fair to say you didn't think that Londi Lindell or Bob Sturbank were either, right?
I didn't believe so.
Okay. Did this letter affect your perceptions of Ms. Lindell?
I remember that when that was brought up, and it was brought up, I guess, by this document. And again, it was an example of, I don't know how this relationship can continue. In the end, after we went through all painstaking effort to fix this thing and not bring Londi's name into the the discussion of how the error got made, I still got this letter of retaliation. And I think, how can you possibly go forward on in the future on that basis?
So there were things in this letter that basically made you have less confidence in Ms. Lindell, is that what you're saying?
It validated my previous suspicion that the relationship between the city and Ms. Lindell was irreparable.